This is Sports 225 with Lee Feinswag. Sports 225 with Lee Feinswag is Baton Rouge's longest running and best television show. Who would have believed that?
My best friend, Lee Feinswag, look at the Christmas.
Sports 225 is brought to you by Breck. Remember, it all starts at Breck. Now, your host, Lee Feinswag.
This promises to be an interesting Sports 225. I am joined by my good friend and popular radio host, Matt Moscona, who does a show from Monday through Friday on 104.5 ESPN from 3 to 6. And I would imagine that Monday's show, you just love screwing up everything, don't you, here?
Lee, I take with the same degree of seriousness this show that you do. Look at your shirt. How can you wear a shirt like that and expect me to come here and take this seriously when you're dressed like that?
The truth of it is, I was in the closet and I was pulling out. I pulled out a shirt.
You were in the closet,
so to speak. And I pulled out a shirt. It was black. It had a little pattern to it. And I said, no, not from Moscona. I went to the other side. I've got all my shirts. I've got hundreds and hundreds of shirts. I mean, really, it's just obscene. And I went to the outrageous section, and I said, this will be a good one.
Yeah,
looks
it's
good.
outrageous.
Anyhow, so the timing of your visit here is most interesting because I don't know that either one of us thought going into last Saturday that LSU would lose to Mississippi State so much as just get pummeled into oblivion.
I could have believed they would have lost the game.
Of course.
Before the year, I write for 225 magazine, something you did for a long time. And they
still do on rare occasion.
They asked me to do a game-by-game blurb, and I'd kind of zeroed this game as the trap game. State has a little bit of a veteran team. Nick Fitzgerald is a really good quarterback. I could have been sold with LSU, new offense, you lose 8 defensive guys to the draft, all that stuff. I could have been sold, on the road, good quarterback, maybe working in a new offense, ball bounces left and center right. Maybe this one could be a problem. 30 points, worst loss in the history of this series. It's never okay.
And big losses are not typical in the SEC, even when the best teams play the worst teams. 30-point losses are rare.
Lee,
over the course of a season.
LSU has played Mississippi State more than any other school in the country. As far as a series go, they've never played anybody more than they played Mississippi State. And Saturday was the worst loss by margin in the history of this series for LSU. I said this on my show Monday, I'll say it to you and to you, there are classes in college football, just like there are in life. Economic classes, socioeconomic classes. Just because LSU and Mississippi State are in the same conference, in the same division, does not mean they're equal, because they're not. Mississippi State is historically last or second to last in the SEC in revenue. LSU is always top 5. In every tangible, measurable resource, LSU laps Mississippi State. It's why this series has never been competitive on the field. Why even the worst LSU teams, 1992, Curly Hallman's team that went 2-9. They went 1-7 in the SEC. They avoided going 0-4 in the league because Mississippi State was on the schedule. If you're going to lose every blue moon to this team, sometimes losses happen, and that's okay. Losing by 30 to Mississippi State is never, ever okay. That was an absolute failure at every level of that football program on Saturday.
You are correct. Now, let me ask you this, because Monday, obviously, is the first show that you have, and you're able to take calls from a wide region, and because of the app and all the rest of it, you can take calls from around the world. What was the prevailing thought among callers/fans?
I think the people that were against the Orgeron hire had their voice on Monday. And
there weren't that many people who were vocal about that at the time.
Because it wasn't popular. It wasn't a popular opinion. Orgeron was a popular hire among much of the fan base because, first of all, you want to believe that your school did the right thing and got the right guy. And then there was he's one of us, right? He's an LSU guy, a Louisiana guy, he's Cajun, he's he's one of us prevailing thought. So the minority just sort of hung out in the shadows. Monday was kind of their day to have their voice, the I told you so. Now, I'm one of those that hated the hire, but I wouldn't dare, after one game, take the I told you so approach, because one game, even one season, should not define Ed Ogeron's tenure at LSU. There have been many great coaches who had some early struggles.
And let me interrupt you with that, because this is what I want to finish with for you to consider on the end of the segment. Les Miles' first game at LSU, which now we're going back 13 years probably?
2005.
Or more. Yeah. So his first game was canceled, or they went out and played out at Arizona State, I believe, right? Second game got delayed because of another hurricane, and they played Tennessee on a Monday night. And this was the worst debacle. It was worse than anything that had ever happened under Hudson Hallman, and otherwise. And I remember going home and literally saying, "This is a bad idea. This is a bad fit. This man can't manage a game. This is just a disaster on all fronts." And of course, he went on to have one of the top 5 greatest careers in the history of college football over the next 11 seasons.
That's debate. Top 5, that's debatable.
Pretty strong stuff.
I wouldn't know if I would go top 5.
Hall of Famer for sure. And
you win a championship, yeah, you are.
yeah, but anyway, with an unbelievable 1-loss record, and despite all the other stuff. But I remember having that exact same feeling after that Tennessee game that I did watching LSU play Mississippi State the other day. So hold that thought. Whatever it is you got it, whatever thought it is you might have. He's Matt Moscona. You can follow him at Matt Moscona on Twitter. More importantly, listen to his radio show from 3 to 6 every day, Monday through Friday. It's outstanding, especially at 4:15 on Tuesdays. I'm Lee Feinswag at Sports 225.
Hi, I'm Joe Martin, president of ITI Technical College, and we are so excited to have been awarded Forbes magazine's top 30 two-year technical colleges in America. To achieve this award, ITI was recognized for our high scores in 1, earnings of our graduates, 2, quality of education, and 3, affordability. To learn more, we invite you to visit our campus or go online. ITI Technical College. Begin your journey to a better life.
Back on Sports 225, a few days after LSU played Mississippi State. Matt Moscona is here. He is the radio host at 104.5 ESPN from 3 to 6, Monday through Friday. A wildly popular show. Don't you like that? A wildly popular show.
I do. It's a good adjective.
Yes.
I enjoy it.
But Matt, for all the crap that he gives me on a regular basis, both when he's in this studio, when we visit not on a media basis, or when I'm on his show every Tuesday from 4:15 to 4:30, he does a great job, and he works hard, and he's well informed, and he delivers his opinions in a very erudite way.
Thank you, Lee.
That he owes me.
You owe me.
So-
Beer is what you owe me.
Yeah, so we're talking about LSU's 30-point loss at Mississippi State the other day. I know there's a couple things you wanted to talk about, but let me reel it back into that victory, or that defeat. So you come back, and you've got 2 games ahead of you, both at home, that on paper LSU wins comfortably. Syracuse comes to town, and then Troy State, or they don't even go by state anymore,
just
they're just Troy. And the T-Roy comes from a time, I was once in at a sports bar, and they were on, and some guy was it was Troy State at the time, they were upsetting somebody, and he was drunk as hell, and he kept on yelling louder, everybody, "Come on, T-Roy," and it just stuck with me.
This is Uncle Lee story time, and it's fascinating.
Well, it's what you get. Oh, shush. Anyhow, do those 2 games then prepare you for the penultimate game and the swivel game that decides your season when you go to Florida?
It depends what they do with the 2 games, specifically on offense. I think defensively they're going to be fine. Saturday was an outlier for Dave Aranda, and they have enough talent on defense to still be really good. The thing I'll tell you about both Troy and Syracuse is that they kind of present a problem. Troy is one of the top offenses statistically in the country. They won't have an SEC caliber athlete, but they're a type of offense that will spread it out and that'll go. And you will see some more of that down the stretch. And the thing about Troy is Troy has a senior quarterback who started all 4 years.
And for people that don't know, Troy's a relatively smaller school in Alabama, and they get a lot of the second-tier players that Alabama and Auburn don't get. I mean, they're traditionally a decent football program.
They got a coach, Neil Brown, who is considered a rising star in the profession. He was the offensive coordinator at Kentucky. Now he's at Troy. And a year ago, Troy in week 2 went to Clemson, eventual national champion Clemson. Clemson had to recover an onside kick with a minute to go in that ball game to hold on against Troy. Not only does Troy return their senior starting quarterback, who started all 4 years, but every player that recorded an offensive statistic a year ago, rushing, receiving, throwing, they're all back this year. So Troy does, while yes, LSU's better and they're at home and they should win, Troy is still for a mid-major, a good mid-major and a legit group of 5 threat if such a thing exists. So I want to see LSU offensively run the offense. We were told the first 2 weeks they're holding back. You know, they ran 10% of the playbook. They're holding back. Well, if down by 30 in Starkville ain't time to open up the playbook, when is it ever going to come? What I know, though, is what we saw on Saturday in Starkville. Don't mock me for hitting these chairs. If you don't want me to hit these chairs, don't give me chairs with arms to do this. What I know is that down by 30 in Starkville, that offense I saw, that didn't look like what Matt Canada ran at Pitt. That didn't look like Matt Canada's offense at NC State. That looked like the same garbage we've watched for the last decade. LSU running power into 9-man fronts and throwing single receiver routes to the boundary.
But Matt, they do fancy things before the snap.
But they didn't on Saturday. That's the crazy thing. Even Canada, who's known for his misdirection, they didn't even do all of that on Saturday.
LSU is 2-1. And in those 3 games, LSU has run the ball 67% of the time and passed it 33%
But I'm
of the
okay
time.
with that. Lee,
But it's exactly what they did in
but
the
it's-
past,
right.
before he got there, since he's been there.
But the
LSU,
ratio isn't as important. It's not. When you have Darius Geis and you're built to be a running team, I'm okay with running if you spread a team out to run. What I can't stand is running power into an 8 and 9-man box. That's what Les and Cam did. They'd bring in the tight ends, they'd have a fullback, you'd have one receiver split wide, and they'd say, here it comes, try to stop it. We're just going to beat you at the point of attack. If you run 4 receiver sets and you got guys in motion and you got the defense guessing and you want to spread out and run power, that's what Gus Malzahn did at Auburn in 2013, got him to within 13 seconds of a national championship. But that's not what they did on Saturday, Lee.
No,
that's
it was just
not what they did on Saturday.
I think they went in there thinking, we're going to wear them down, and in the fourth quarter, the game's going to be ours. You know, old-timey football. That's what it looked like.
You know what I think? I think Ed Ogeron is meddling with this offense. That is not Matt Canada's offense. Monday, intentionally, I went back and watched an hour of YouTube videos of Matt Canada's offenses. That ain't what it looked like on Saturday. And I don't know if he feels like he doesn't have the personnel, but I've watched this guy throughout his career who has done more with less, come to Baton Rouge, and for the first time in his career, have 4- and 5-star guys. He's never had a Darius Geis. And now he's going to go into a shell? Do less with more? Doesn't make sense, man. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense.
Now I know why Matt Moscona didn't answer my calls on Monday morning, because he was watching old YouTubes of Dave Aranda offenses.
You didn't call me on Monday. And it's Matt Canada offense. Dave Aranda's the defensive coordinator. Get it right.
Dave Canada, Matt Canada, Dave Aranda, whatever. You know.
Your shirt is blinding your brain.
My brain was blinded long before this shirt came out.
Blinded by the shirt, revved up like a deuce.
You know who wrote that song? It was made popular by Manfred Mann.
Yeah.
But
who wrote it? Lee Fineswalk.
Springsteen.
Oh. That's why I hate it.
He's Matt
Springsteen sucks.
Moscona.
Write that down. Springsteen sucks.
He thinks that LSU should already be making a quarterback change after 3 games, and I'll ask him why when we get back to Sports 225.
Don't let the bed bugs bite you. We'll put them to sleep.
Bed bugs can be transported from most anywhere. Hotels, department stores, even a friend's house.
We've got the bead on bed bugs. Call the bug man today.
Call 923-BUGS.
We're back on Sports 225. My guest is the inimitable Matt Moscona, who, man, all the weight training is paying off for you. You work out of Traction, don't you?
I do.
Do you?
TractionSports.com. It's where the pros train.
How much do you
bench? How much you bench? Remember that SNL skit?
But if I go back like 2.5, 3 years, you've lost a bunch of weight and you're way fitter than you were, and you know.
I've always been pretty fit.
There was a time. Of course, there was a time when you had the inability to work out, when Drew was a young man and you were not able to.
Yeah, when we were in the hospital, I probably didn't work out for about 9 months, but I ate clean, so I stayed thin.
He's an absolute physical specimen. Anyway, so Matt thinks that if you're going to lose or if it's not going to happen, LSU should be playing younger people at quarterback.
Okay, not exactly.
Okay.
Okay,
Let me put words in your mouth.
Okay, let me clarify.
All right, good.
So I've always been the guy who said, don't play young quarterbacks. If you play a young quarterback, one thing is sure to happen. You're going to lose games. Another thing that can happen is you can crush that young player's confidence. We saw this with Jarrett Lee.
Yeah.
He went out and threw 7 pick sixes that year, and mentally he was done for. In 2014, Brandon Harris played really well in relief against New Mexico State and Mississippi State. Got a start at Auburn, and the moment was too big for him.
By the way, he did well so far for North Carolina.
He didn't play this past week. I think he had 2 attempts. The second game, he played very well.
Yeah, a lot of numbers.
He did, but oddly enough, didn't play in week 3 much. So I've always been of the belief, man, go with your veteran guy. They're not going to make mistakes, give you a better chance to win. At this point, we know what Danny Etling is. Right? Danny's is a decent player who just isn't dynamic, isn't going to go win a ball game for you. So, given what we saw on Saturday with Danny Etling as your quarterback, you're probably an 8-4 team. You know, I think there's enough talent around him to where it's going to come together and you're going to win some nice games, but you're going to have more frustrating losses like you did on Saturday. Most people would look at that and go, they're not going to win a game in conference. Yeah, normally things average to the mean, and they're probably going to go 4-4 in the league. That would be my guess right now. So, if you stick with Danny, Saturday night after LSU loses and do the post-game stuff, I flip on USC Texas. Did you watch any of that game, by the way? In the Coliseum, 84,000 people, prime time, and Texas is running out this freshman quarterback, Sam Ehlinger, never even heard of the kid. And he is slicing the 4th-ranked team in the country in half.
And this is the same thing, though, that you probably said this 1 year ago about Alabama, and you've said it perennially about different freshman quarterbacks, relating it to a program, LSU's, which now over 20 years, very rarely have you gone into a season and said, wow, they got the quarterback, all's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm watching the USC-Texas game, and I watch this freshman dicing up this team, and then I start thinking, man, Georgia plays this freshman Jake Fromm. They go to Notre Dame and win. Jalen Hurts was the SEC Offensive Player of the Year a season ago. Josh Rosen started as a true freshman at UCLA. And I'm going, man, quarterbacks today are more ready-made for the college game coming out of high school. And the other thing about it, Lee, is kids don't stay 5 years. There's no sense in redshirting anybody. They're not staying 5 years, waiting and hoping to get that shot to play. If they're good. Right. The blue chippers want to play. They want to play now, and if they don't, they're going somewhere where they can, okay? So I know if you play Danny Etling this year, you're going 8-4. If you play Miles Brennan and/or Lowell Narcisse, maybe you go 8-4. Or maybe they're really dynamic and win games you're not supposed to. And you can say, well, why put him out there behind that offensive line to get crushed? I know Danny Etling's not mobile. Danny's not making plays with his feet. He's not going to manufacture offense if the pocket's breaking down.
Don't be fooled because he ran one time good against, Chattanooga.
His career-long run is 18 yards. Please.
Right. You know what's interesting is Cam Cameron, the former offensive coordinator at LSU, told me he thought that one of the reasons why these young quarterbacks are coming out of high school so ready is because of the 7-on-7s.
7-on-7s, absolutely.
And video games. He thinks that helps put into their brain all the things that they
formations
need to learn.
And things. Yeah. That's not a bad thought, but 7-on-7s, there's no doubt.
Of course, you unfortunately couldn't prove it from the quarterback success while he was here, but that's another story.
True, but here's the problem with that, too. Cam was running 5, 7-step drops, slow developing route trees. Those kids that are running 7-on-7, it's 1, 2, 3, ball, gone. I mean, it's reacting instinctively to its muscle memory programmed. And I think Brennan can do that. You know, I don't know if Narcisse is ready, but what I do know is on Saturday, pockets breaking down, when Danny Etling goes down or just gets rid of the football, Lowell Narcisse has a chance to whip around, break a play for 40 yards. Danny Etling doesn't have that gear.
If Lindsey Scott were here, what would you be saying?
I'd be saying play Lindsey Scott.
There you go. I'd be saying this is Matt Moscona. You can listen to him on the radio Monday through Friday from 3 to 6 on 104.5 ESPN, and you can watch this show every week. It's called Sports 225, and we'll be right back.
See that dog lover? About to unleash the terror hound on these friendly, unsuspecting canines? Well, I'm the human dislike button, and I see it too. Easy there, Cujo. Taking part in a dog socialization program at a shelter or pet store can help nip this problem in the bud. And no matter how well socialized your pet is, cleaning up the little rays of sunshine they leave in their merry wake is your responsibility. To learn more about me, go to breck.org/HDB.
All right, down the home stretch of another Sports 225. Thanks to John from JCW for directing the show, to all of you for watching, because I'll forget to say that later, and go to sports225.com, which had a couple of glitches last week, but we're up and running again, and check the show times and watch archived versions of this show on the Sports 225 TV YouTube channel. Back to Matt Moscona, who has had a busy week because of LSU football. And, you know, Matt, a year ago, LSU fired Les Miles.
They did.
And finished what last year?
They were 8-4. Won the bowl games, 9-4.
Yeah. And right now it's 2-1.
No, 7-4 won the bowl game, went 8-4 because they lost the South
game.
Alabama game.
If Les Miles had not been fired, if LSU had not spent all that money to fire him, and you're talking about right now, would the record have been drastically different? Would they have scored fewer points against Alabama? And would there have been fewer fans in the stadium for the second half of the LSU-Chattanooga game? And one can only imagine what it'll be like when T-Roy comes to town.
I think all would be equal. I don't think LSU would have lost by 30 to Mississippi State.
Might have beaten Florida last year.
Very well might have beaten Florida last year. And if you beat Florida last year, you go to the Sugar Bowl and you play Oklahoma.
One of the arguments that I heard from someone in the athletic department was, you know, Miles had to go. People weren't going to come to the games. You know, nobody was interested.
I could buy that it was time. So sometimes all good things come to an end, and they gave Les plenty of rope and plenty of opportunity to right the ship. And
I just got to look. I was watching the Big Ten Network the other day, and I look up, and in their studio is Jerry DiNardo talking to Les Miles. It was good. And then a couple days later, LSU hires John Brady, the former LSU basketball coach, to be on the basketball radio team.
Yeah,
you know, who's out there? Who else?
If you're Smoke Laval's going to pop up somewhere. If you're a fired LSU coach, you're going to get a gig in media. To answer your question, all's probably the same, maybe a little bit better. I mean, we're rehashing an old debate. I think it was time for a change, which is fine.
I told you that I thought LSU would go 7-5. I'm not convinced LSU can go 7-5. What happens in the next 3 weeks, determines a lot of that for me. What did you pick before the season?
I said 8-4.
And do you still think?
I still think they go. I think they go 4-4 in the league. I figured they'd split the Mississippi schools, lose to Auburn, Florida, and Bama.
All right, watch Matt Moscona. Watch him. Well, you can. They have this TV thing, but just listen to him from 3 to 6 on 104.5 ESPN. Follow him at Matt Moscona. And there you go. Thanks for coming on, sir.
Sure.
All right. Thanks for watching Sports 225. Good night.
Thanks for dressing up.
At carnival time by Baton Rouge Bay, that's the site of my story. At Spanish Town Mardi Gras, things can get blurry. See the mowers marching, prizes fill the sky.